Welcome to Tonightly. My name is Tom Ballard. Day 2 of our second season. People keep talking about the privatisation of the ABC. I think it's actually influencing some shows here at the ABC. I don't know if you guys saw the promos, the Q&A last night. It was crazy.
On the new Q&A tonight, after Media Watch, cat videos or dog videos, which are the best? Breakups by text, should it be allowed? And I'll be asking our expert panel if Chris Hemsworth could be any hotter. Join us at 9:35 with myself, Fitzy Whipper, and one of the gang from Love Island on the new Q&A tonight.
Looks good. It's a new direction. I like it. Well, there'll be none of that commercial crap here on Tonightly, OK, guys? Mainly because of our ratings. No one watches. We asked around, the only company said they'd consider advertising with us was Optus. They're fucking desperate, man. I was in the elevator this morning and I was waiting for it to come, and the elevators at this place are shithouse and they take ages, and I turned to the man who was waiting next to me and he just looked at me and went, who'd want to buy this place? So, morale is high, is what I'm saying. Got a great show for you tonight, though, as we continue celebrating Refugee Week. On the show, my guest will be the chair of the Australian National Committee on Refugee Women, and yeah, you all, everyone. That'll be good. Here's some full-on news. You know, sometimes you meet people who are, like, always banging on about politics and you feel like punching them in the face? Well, good news, they're now doing that to each other.
A brawl at a Sydney branch of the Liberal Party has erupted into an all-out fist fight.
Don't mind me, Liberal Party, do go on. Awful. This is full on. This brawl got intense. OK, I can't... All right, well, fine. Full on, man. It got really violent. Someone went to hospital and stuff, getting the chairs hitting each other and stuff. If you ask me, sounds like some out-of-control Liberal gang crime. Do we really need these Liberals in our country coming over here with their lower corporate tax rates and traditional view of the family? Oh, God. They're a menace! Worth it. It was a very full-on event, particularly as, according to one senior Liberal Party source, the worst thing that normally happens in Liberal Party pre-selections is someone flicks the toothpick that holds together the cucumber sandwich. It's weird how some people say they're out of touch. But, of course, that would never happen at a Greens Party meeting. No sandwiches, they're gluten-free. So, there you go. What else is going on in the news? Oh, please tell me it's the political return of Clive Palmer.
That's right.
Businessman Clive Palmer has announced a return to politics. The former federal member for Fairfax has changed his Palmer United Party to be the United Australia Party.
Thank the Lord! God, how I've missed that beautiful angel face! Having a lot of trouble getting out that car too, wasn't he? Clive is back, people, and he was on Sunrise this morning with his hot new slogan.
Yeah. Make Australia great.
Always a good sign when Koshi's laughing directly in your face. But that is his new political slogan, OK? He's been reportedly putting up hundreds of billboards like this all over Queensland. Make Australia great. Not make Australia great again, just great. For the first time, presumably, implying that up until now, Australia has been a little bit shit. To be fair, it's much better than his previous slogan.
We're going to make Australians entitled to receive the money that they're entitled to.
Not as catchy, and certainly much harder to fit on the billboard, I think. He's going for the Trump thing now. He's going for the Trump angle. He's a super rich dude standing up for the little guy. He's stealing Trump's slogan. They even have the same taste in red ties and thumbs. Same thing going on. Now, this is weird that Clive's sort of weighing back into the political world. He's dealing with some issues at the moment. He owned a nickel mine in Queensland and that collapsed in 2016, and the government had to step in to pay $64 million in redundancy entitlements to the sacked workers. And not surprisingly, at his big press conference yesterday, that came up.
During the press conference, he was questioned about criminal charges and his eligibility to run, but most notably, Labor's Townsville MP Cathy O'Toole challenged him over the collapse of his company, Queensland Nickel, which left hundreds of people out of the job.
I want to explain that I don't owe anyone anything in North Queensland.
Yeah, I don't owe anyone anything in Northern Queensland. I do owe the federal government $64 million. Vote Palmer! Oh, people on board. Make Australia great! Make Australia great! In fact, Clive reckons the good people of Townsville bloody love him.
No, I'm considering running for the seat of Townsville. There was a poll done in Townsville last week where I had a 70% approval rating. People were happy with what we've been doing.
OK, now we looked this up, and we think what he's referring to is an opinion poll that was published earlier this month in the Townsville Bulletin, in which 70% of people said yes when asked the question, should Clive Palmer reopen the nickel refinery? So that's a 70% approval rating for the idea that he should try to fix the thing that he fucked up. And even then, 30% of people in Townsville said they didn't want him to do that. Oh, what's that? You've been negatively affected by Clive Palmer. Don't worry, Clive Palmer's here to help. We're good, thank you, Clive. But hey, some people are getting on board the Palmer train.
There is this senator called Brian Burston, and today he declared a new political allegiance for the third time in less than a week. He's a former member of Pauline Hanson's One Nation, but today he joined forces with another colourful Queenslander, Clive Palmer. He made the announcement an hour after telling the Senate he would henceforth be an independent.
OK, so he broke his word an hour after giving his word, but I'm sure everything else went fine.
Now, the press conference only came to an end when it was washed out when the Parliament House sprinklers turned on, leaving everyone running for cover.
Yeah, the sprinklers went off because Clive is on fire. We love you, Clive Palmer. I love that you are back in politics. I love it. Because on your party's official YouTube channel, you are always posting the dankest of memes. Make that man Prime Minister. Yes. Do it. All right, that is all very silly. On a very different note, last night this happened.
Thousands of people have gathered in Melbourne for a vigil in honour of an aspiring comedian who was raped and murdered last week. Eurydice Dixon's body was found in Princess Park almost a week ago.
We talked about this last night on the show. Obviously, we're thinking of Eurydice, her family, and her friends, and shout-outs to all those people, those thousands of people who gathered last night to commemorate this young woman and the 30 other women who have been murdered in Australia since the start of this year. It was a wonderful display of unity in the face of this awful thing that happened, and also showed a mark of solidarity around this issue that's been hotly debated since Eurydice's death.
And now a debate on who should take prime responsibility for the safety of women. Police advice urging all women to be, quote, aware of their surroundings provoked a fierce online backlash with calls for men to change their behaviour, not women.
Whoa. Men changing their behaviour? What do you think, Miranda Devine?
And maybe it is because people are so upset about the murder of this young woman that they're lashing out at whoever they can find. But it's completely unrealistic to say that men should change, you know, toxic masculinity is to blame.
Yeah, it's completely unrealistic to expect men to change. Okay, it's much easier to ask women to stop walking through parks or leaving their homes or being in their homes or generally existing. That's more realistic. That's why the police have actually announced they've come up with a brand new, better solution to fix this once and for all.
Rape, sexual assault, violent crime and murder keep happening to women, despite our continuous efforts to blame them. For some reason, telling women to be responsible for their own safety just isn't getting through to murderous rapists, so we want to try something different. Following the success of the lockout laws put in place to prevent men killing other men, we're proud to announce our new initiative, lock-in laws. We all know that the vast majority of men do not rape and murder women, but in the interest of public safety, all men must now remain locked inside from 9 p.m. just in case. So to do your bit to help reduce violence against women, simply stand on the inside of a structure, whether it be an apartment, library or airplane hangar, push the door closed and lock it. Now men, no matter where you are, as soon as that clock hits 9 p.m, you're in for the night. So remember to carry a sleeping bag, a pillow and pyjamas if you're planning on heading out. If you do happen to find yourself outside after lock-in time, have situational awareness. That situation being the legal system, which means you can't kill anyone. And don't forget to carry your no-rape whistle. It contains chloroform, so one inhalation will prevent you from committing violent acts for the next 8 hours. These are some big changes for men, but there will be new habits for women to get used to as well. No more makeshift weapons. Those keys can now be used to start your car. No more listening out for threats. Those earphones can finally go in your ears. And this is pavement. You can now use this safely, even when there is no sunlight. We firmly believe that these lock-in laws will finally allow women to wear what they want, be where they want, and be able to walk home safely without the possibility of violent death. Isn't that right, Sergeant?
Yes, that is right. And remember, this is all about... Oh, shit, gotta go. Lock-in. Gotta get out of here. Come on, it's the lock-in.
And if you're the sort of man who is deeply offended by this initiative, just remember, this is not about your feelings. It's about our lives. After 9, it's lock-in time.
Hey, has everybody been loving the Russia World Cup? You enjoying the World Cup? Me too. Why don't we head to Russia the very best way you can by not actually having to go to Russia? It's time for Cup This! The end. You guys have been enjoying the World Cup. It's been good times. Australia lost our first match, which is no good. We're up against Denmark on Thursday night. But it brings together champions from all across the globe. That's why I love it. There's Argentina's dynamo, Lionel Messi. Very well done. Portugal's sublime Cristiano Ronaldo, and Saudi Arabia's Mohammed Al Salawi. He is a real wizard, which in Saudi Arabia is punishable by death. But some good news for Aussie fans who want to actually watch the World Cup. Now, you can actually watch the World Cup.
Optus has announced that it will allow SBS to televise the next few World Cup matches. Optus has rights to the tournament, of course, but its streaming service, as we've known for the past few days, has been plagued by technical issues, leaving angry fans unable to view some of the games.
Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull even called the telco boss to demand an explanation.
Well, he tried to call the telco. Couldn't get reception. He's with Optus. But how are Russians preparing for this wonderful event?
Russians will even smile at you. Ahead of the World Cup, train conductors here have been taught to forget the frowns and give foreigners big, shiny smiles.
The Russians believe that if you smile for no open reason, that means you either look like a fool, or you had too much to drink, or you're simply not respecting the person whom you're talking to.
Yes. It is old Russian proverb, turn that frown further down. What an accent there. It's not all good news, though. Russian MP Tamara Pletnyova has warned women not to have sex with World Cup visitors to avoid becoming single mothers with mixed-race children. Now, I don't know if this woman is an expert, though. She did say, there will be girls who meet men and then they will give birth. Obviously, a few things were lost in translation in the Russian edition of Where Did I Come From, called Stop Asking Question. There's also the very disturbing news that FIFA has charged Mexico after fans chanted an anti-gay slur during their match against Germany. In fact, during World Cup qualifiers, FIFA issued 51 disciplinary actions to 16 different countries for homophobic crowd behaviour, which is weird because soccer is footy for poofters. Oh, fuck off, I'm allowed. It's also slightly strange considering the countries that FIFA has chosen to actually host this massive event. Last week, Morocco was almost named host of the 2026 World Cup, and that's a country where homosexuality is illegal. The story's the same for 2022 host Qatar, where gay sex can score you 7 years in prison. Well, should clarify, it's 7 years if it's good sex, 3 if you're just going through the motions. But let's not forget that the current hosts, Russia, seem to want to get credit for doing as little as humanly possible.
I would like to draw your attention to the fact that in Russia, unlike in 1/3 of world's countries, being gay is not a crime.
Yes, in other words, stop asking question. And that's Cup This.
people to the 5 drug money that I owe in Australia.
Hey everybody, let's talk about drugs. Who loves drugs?
We do, Tom. Yay, drugs!
You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Disgusting. Well, these guys love drugs. Apparently, the New South Wales police disagree because they're nerds. According to an article published last night by Triple J's Hack, over 150 people who didn't have drugs on them were kicked out of a Sydney trance music festival after a sniffer dog gave an indication that some of them had drugs on their person. Benji, what are you doing? You found the only 150 people at a trance music festival who didn't have any drugs? Bad boy! A lot of flack and heat heading towards the police and the sniffer dogs at the moment, but here at Nightly, we've actually uncovered some new information about these police sniffer dogs that might throw a spanner in the works. Let's take a look.
New South Wales Police are facing a potential class action from music festival goers after more than 150 people were kicked out of a festival in May despite sniffer dog searches finding no drugs on them. But police are pushing back, saying that the dogs they're using at music festivals aren't traditional sniffer dogs.
This court case has absolutely no legs. They weren't sniffer dogs at the music festival, they were psychic dogs, all right? Every single one of those people arrested had either done drugs in the past or was planning on doing drugs in the future.
You know how in Minority Report there were precogs? Well, these are pre-dogs. Pre-cog dogs. Not to be confused with grog dogs, that's a whole other unit.
But it's not just drugs, it's literally any crime.
So this is Grunt, and she's an expert in detecting corporate fraud. Hey, tell me what you saw. Tell me what you saw. Tell me with your mind. What's that? The bank engaged in cartel-like behaviour. How do you know?
Jesus.
Good dog.
Good girl. This is Duper. She can predict if someone's a pedophile. Is that a pedo? Duper, is that a pedo? Excuse me, mate. Are you a pedo? Are you a pedo, mate? Come back here. No, that's a pedo.
By far, the most effective training is through free play. So right now, I'm expanding their minds in ways most people wouldn't understand, and do that for about 2 hours, and then it's nap time.
Some fine work there, officer.
It's important work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Muck around with that one a bit more.
All right.
So one of the other things we do here at the police psychic dog unit is we like to... Oh, Jesus. Fat Gus here has psychically identified me as a future murderer of a family of 7. Honestly, I didn't think I had that in me, but the dogs don't lie. So, yeah, even I'm not above the law. I've seen these so-called stats that these dogs are wrong 2/3 of the time. It's just not true. They're psychic dogs. They are right 100% of the time. Now, get me off the streets before I murder a family.
It's been an honour.
Punters are being warned to be on guard when they attend music festivals in future because these canine clairvoyants are sniffing out trouble with their minds.
It's Refugee Week, and I am stoked to be chatting to our guest tonight. She's an official ambassador of Refugee Week and the chair of the Australian National Committee on Refugee Women. Would you please welcome Anya Yule, everyone?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy Refugee Week.
To everyone, and me, myself, too.
Woo! Are you going to sick parties, Refugee Week sick parties?
Yes, already did. Yeah, been there, done that.
You've been out there, go nuts. Thank you for being on the show. It's lovely to have you here.
Worries.
24 years ago, you were born in a refugee camp in Kenya. How did you come to be an Australian?
Well, my journey took me through a very memorable road. So I am my parents are from South Sudan, and then moved to a refugee camp after the war. So born there, raised there for the first 10 years, and we were the first, or the lucky one, to be granted a humanitarian visa to come to Australia in 2003. So that's how I found myself here in the beautiful Sydney.
Beautiful Sydney in Australia, yes. And your parents were tragically lost their lives during that conflict, and I'm sorry for that loss. Kakuma Refugee Camp sounds like an extraordinary place. It was started in 1992. It was designed to hold 23,000 people. As of January this year, it has a population of 185,000 people. What is it like actually growing up there in that camp?
As you just said, Tom, the population has increased over the years. Now, when I was born in '93, so by that time it's only been 1 year since it had established. Growing there for the first 10 years, I guess to me, Kakuma refugee camp was a home. I didn't really have much expectation of what was out of the camp, just let alone maybe probably a few visits to Nairobi, and that's about it. But Kakuma has always been a place where I have family there, I have friends there. I grew up, spoke my first words. But now I think, having grown up in Australia and just looking back how the population has increased, it's really sad to still see that there are people who probably have lived in the camp for maybe over 25 years now. And it does break my heart to see that the camp, it's every year the population is increasing and there's nothing can be done about it. So it's really sad. Unfortunately, I have been one of the luckiest who have been guaranteed a visa to be here. And so I'm lucky, but unfortunately for the one who are in the camp, they are just not lucky as I am.
Do you think that we, as a country, Australians, do a good job of welcoming refugees?
Oh, I think so, definitely. In terms of communities, organisations that have been established to welcome refugees, we do a great job. However, I think there are more things that Australians can do, including the government. So looking at the budgets and the amount that we spend to integrate them into society, looking at the way, how can we actually increase opportunities to better integrate them into society. Australia does really well in terms of the program that we provided for new arrival refugees. But from there, when they first arrive, everyone go through different process of integrating into a society. Some can really integrate it quite well and very easy. Some who might have been traumatized and have gone through more in life will take further time to integrate.
What was it like for you? You're 10 years old, you've spent your entire life in a refugee camp, and then you arrive in Sydney. What was that experience like?
I mean, it was amazing. Oh, not really amazing, that's a lie.
Don't lie to me!
When I first arrived, of course, I was very young, and I think arriving in Sydney, I remember
must have been crazy.
Just looking at the buildings, and I was like, where am I? Like, am I lost? Like, honestly, I came from a camp where everything is, built with tents, trees, or everything, atmosphere was different. So I was nervous, I was culturally shocked. And you know where they took us for our first place? City centre. Like, it was like, I'm sorry, where are the multicultural people here? So I was really shocked, but until they moved us to the Western Sydney.
Right, okay.
So I find my home there.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
So for some people, you're a refugee who came to Australia the right way. This is a way that some people phrase it. You were in a camp, and some people point to those who seek asylum coming to Australia by boat and say that they're not doing it the right way. The Liberal Party, which is the current party of government in this country, seems to have a similar position. They posted this video on Saturday, and I'm interested to hear what you think of it. Let's take a look.
Yes.
When Labor was last in government, over 50,000 illegal arrivals reached our shores, costing taxpayers billions of dollars. And it could happen again. There are many Labor MPs who support policies that will weaken border protection.
Let them stay.
The people smugglers are watching and waiting.
Once Australia opened the gate, it's a people smuggler, they will send these people.
Because if Labor gets in, so will more illegal arrivals. Labor, the bill Australia can't afford.
What do you think when you see something like that?
Oh, it's really sad. I would like to say there is no queue. There's no wait. Or I would have never been here if there was a thing that we have to wait for your turn. These are people's lives. We shouldn't be playing with. They're not numbers. There is no right way to get into Australia. Once you cross that border and seeking protection, you should be given that protection. And for me, I received that protection, even though I came by what they call the right way under the humanitarian visa. It doesn't mean those people don't have the right that they deserve. Like, what happened to the women and girls or the children who are on that boat? It's against the law, and, to just keep them there. So it's really poor and just really upsetting to see that.
You're going to Geneva this weekend, and you're going to be speaking to the UN, specifically addressing the challenges faced by refugee women in Australia and around the world. What are those specific challenges? What are you going to talk about?
So in my role, and as the chair of ANCOR and in partnership with the Australian Refugee Council of Australia, one of the things that we are going to advocate is particularly the issues that women and girls face in Australia. So in terms of our roles with the ANCOR, we talk about issues like employment opportunities here, the lack of resources for English classes, and then more on a general at the international level, the lack of processing in terms of how long it takes to for families to be reunited with their families. So those are the things that we are going to advocate on as well. Yeah.
You're going to go back to Kakuma refugee camp too. Are you looking forward to it?
I am. So the last time I went back to Africa in particular was 2011, but I did not go to the camp that I was born in. So this time I'm really excited, but also nervous just to see the changes, to see, what had happened and what's going on in the camp. But also I'm excited to see family because I still do have a lot of family still in the camp until now.
Your auntie you looked after you and you grew up with there is still in the camp now?
Still in the camp until today.
14 years later, right?
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, she's one of the unlucky ones who's still there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. If you want to find out more about Refugee Week 2018, you can head to the website on your screen now. For now, would you please thank Anya Yule?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That's our show for tonight. Zap is up next. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.